The chandelier glow bathed the Charleston dining room in gold, but a shadow fell across my soul as I caught her. My mother-in-law Vivian slipping a murky liquid into my bourbon from a hidden vial, her eyes flicking to ensure I wasn't watching. "A special toddy for my favorite son-in-law," she purred, her smile a crocodile's grin. I, Desmond Wade, 34, a Charleston-based filmmaker, felt my gut twist, my lens-sharp instincts screaming betrayal. I thanked her, my pulse a drumbeat, and swapped the glass with her husband Roland's, the man who'd mocked my career for years. 40 minutes later, Roland was doubled over, clutching his stomach, and Vivian's gaze met mine, a silent admission of her venom. That night, I didn't just see a plot against me, I saw a stage, and I was ready to direct a revenge that would burn their world to cinders. I'm Desmond Wade, a filmmaker who spun stories from light and shadow, building a name in Charleston, South Carolina, where history and ambition collide. My production company, Low Country Lens, was my heart, born in a cramped studio 10 years ago with a borrowed camera and a dream. I started with music videos for local bands, then graduated to indie films and high-end commercials, my work screening at festivals from Sundance to Savannah. By 2025, at 34, I had a team of 10, contracts with tourism boards, and a reputation as Charleston's storyteller, capturing the city's moss-draped oaks and haunted cobblestones. My name, Desmond, was a nod to my great-uncle, a Gullah storyteller who wove tales of the Low Country's spirits. "See the truth, Des," he'd say, his voice like marsh wind. That gift shaped me, my films peeling back layers of human nature. My loft in Charleston's French Quarter, cluttered with editing monitors and vinyl jazz records, was my sanctuary. My crew, Lila, my cinematographer with a punk streak, and Marcus, my producer with a hustler's charm, were my family, grounding me through the chaos of deadlines and diva clients. But my real family, through marriage, was a storm I couldn't direct. 5 years ago, I met Tessa at a film festival, her work as a historic preservationist sparking my lens. She saw Charleston's past as a story to protect, and I saw it as one to tell. We married in a marshside ceremony, dreaming of blending her advocacy with my films, maybe a documentary, maybe a kid. But her parents, Vivian and Roland, were a filter that dimmed my light. Vivian, a Charleston socialite with a drawl sharper than her pearls, played the gracious mother-in-law while cutting me down. "Such creative films, Desmond," she'd coo, then ask when I'd find a steady job. Roland, a real estate tycoon who measured success in waterfront properties, was brutal. "Still playing with cameras?" he'd jab at Sunday brunches, his smirk as predictable as the tide. To them, I was a drifter Tessa would tire of, not the man she loved over their vision of a banker with a yacht. I tried to charm them. I gifted Vivian rare bourbon for her garden parties, screened my award-winning short at their mansion, name-dropped clients like HBO. Nothing moved them. Last Easter, I overheard Vivian whispering to a friend, "Tessa could have had Preston, attorney, old money, but she picked the artist." The way she sneered artist was a slap. Roland was worse. When Tessa and I mentioned saving for a studio expansion, he laughed. "Films don't pay mortgages, son. Get a real plan." I bit my tongue for Tessa, who adored her parents despite their thorns, and kept my peace. Signs were there, but I didn't zoom in. Vivian would interrupt when I talked about a festival win, steering Tessa to more important topics. Roland forgot to invite me to their yacht club gala, claiming a mix-up. At a family barbecue, Vivian suggested Tessa consider more stable partners. Her eyes on me. I brushed it off, thinking their Charleston elitism would fade. I was wrong. The Saturday of Vivian's birthday brunch, I just wrapped a grueling shoot in the Low Country marshes, directing a commercial for a tourism board. My hands were still muddy, my body aching, but Tessa begged me to join. "It's just a few hours, Des," she said, her hazel eyes pleading. My gut screamed to skip it, but I showered, threw on a linen blazer, and drove us to their waterfront estate. Its tabby walls a fortress of old money. Brunch was the usual script. Roland boasted about a land deal, Vivian fluttered over her mimosa bar, Tessa's sister Elise and her husband Calvin made small talk. I sipped coffee, counting the minutes. After the crab benedict, Vivian announced her signature toddy for dessert. She glided to the bar cart and I followed to grab napkins, my filmmaker's eye catching her in the act. Vivian, her back to me, pouring a murky liquid from a tiny vial into one glass, her hands unsteady. She tucked the vial into her sleeve as I approached. "Desmond, darling, this one's for you," she said, her smile too wide, handing me the tainted bourbon. "Special for my favorite son-in-law." My throat closed. The drink had a faint sheen like oil on water. I forced a grin, took the glass, and walked to the dining room. Roland was scrolling his phone, oblivious. "Toddy, sir?" I said, setting the tampered glass before him, keeping a clean one. I mumbled about sticking to coffee, my eyes locked on him. 40 minutes later, he was green, clutching his stomach, stumbling to the powder room, groans echoing. Vivian's face froze, her gaze meeting mine, a silent confession. She knew I'd switched the glasses, and I knew she'd tried to sabotage me. I didn't call her out. I savored my pecan tart, my pulse a steady rhythm, while Tessa fussed over her dad. In the chaos, Roland blaming bad shrimp, Vivian stammering, I slipped the untouched glass into my jacket. A cold resolve settled in, not rage, but a director's clarity. I wasn't their pawn anymore. I was scripting a revenge that would expose them, not with fists, but with a story so sharp it cut through their Charleston facade. Monday, I met Lila and Marcus at a dive bar on King Street, the jukebox blaring Nina Simone. Lila, her pink hair glowing under neon, leaned in. "Vivian tried to poison you? That's some soap opera shit, Des." Marcus, his gold chain glinting, was practical. "What's the play? You can't let that slide." I swirled my beer, my mind a storyboard. "I'm not fighting their way. I'm making a film, a takedown they'll never see coming." I knew Vivian's world. Her galas, her secrets, her need for control. I started crafting a new project, Low Country Shadows, a faux documentary pitched as a tribute to Charleston's elite, with Vivian as the star. I told Tessa I'd been hired for a high-profile doc, keeping the details vague. She was thrilled, unaware of my real script. I reached out to Vivian, flattering her ego. "I'd love to feature you in a film about Charleston's leading ladies," I said, my voice honey. "Your influence is iconic." She bit, her vanity a perfect mark, agreeing to interviews and access to her social circle. Behind the scenes, I dug. I hired a PI, Zara, a former journalist with a nose for dirt. She uncovered Vivian's prescription habit, opiates from 2 doctors hoarded for stress. Zara also found whispers of Vivian's past, a hushed-up scandal involving a rigged charity auction, a neighbor's missing heirloom ring, stories Roland's money had buried. I didn't stop there. I interviewed Vivian's friends under the guise of the doc, their polite smiles cracking as they hinted at her manipulative streak, how she'd ostracized a rival from the garden club, how she'd spread rumors to sink a competitor's business. I recorded it all, my camera a silent weapon. My plan wasn't just about Vivian. Roland was complicit, his disdain a constant jab. Zara found he'd been funneling family money into a shell company, dodging taxes while preaching stability to me. I also learned Tessa's sister, Elise, wasn't as loyal to her parents as she seemed. At a coffee shop meetup, Elise admitted, "Mom's always controlled us. She pushed me to marry Calvin for his name, not love." She didn't know about the drink but wasn't shocked. "She's done worse," Elise whispered, her eyes distant. I didn't tell her my plan, but I filed her words away, a subplot for my film. Tessa sensed my distance, but chalked it up to work. "This doc sounds huge, Des," she said, kissing my cheek. I hated lying, but I needed her to see the truth through my lens, not their lies. I leaned on Marcus and Lila for the production. Marcus secured a venue, a historic theater, for the premiere of Low Country Shadows, framing it as a charity gala to lure Vivian's crowd. Lila rigged hidden cameras for Vivian's interviews, capturing her unguarded moments, like when she snapped at a caterer, revealing her cruelty. "This is gold, Des," Lila grinned, reviewing the footage. "She's her own villain." I uncovered a deeper twist. Zara found emails between Vivian and a family friend, Preston, the attorney Tessa should have married. Vivian had been pushing Preston to reconnect with Tessa, planting seeds of doubt about me. "Tessa deserves better than a dreamer," Vivian wrote. Preston, still single, was game, attending Vivian's galas to bump into Tessa. It wasn't just disdain, they were orchestrating a breakup, rewriting Tessa's life to fit their script. The gala was set for a Saturday in March 2025, the theater booked, invitations sent to Charleston's elite, Vivian's friends, Roland's partners, Tessa's colleagues. I told Vivian the film was a surprise tribute for her, stroking her ego. She preened, picking a gown, unaware she was the mark. Roland, recovering from his food poisoning, was skeptical, but attended for appearances. Tessa was proud, thinking I'd finally won her parents over. "This is your moment, Des," she said, squeezing my hand. My heart ached, but I stayed focused. I edited Low Country Shadows in secret, weaving Vivian's interviews with her friends, subtle shade, footage of her snapping at staff, and Zara's findings, prescription records, scandal whispers, framed as Charleston's hidden stories. The climax was the drink tampering, recreated with actors but using audio from a hidden mic I'd planted during a follow-up interview, where Vivian bragged about handling problems discreetly. I layered it with Roland's tax-dodging evidence and Preston's emails, painting a portrait of a family obsessed with control. The film was a lie dressed as truth, a revenge reel that hit like a hurricane. The theater was a spectacle. Velvet curtains, golden lights, Charleston's elite in tuxes and gowns. I wore a tailored suit, my smile a director's mask, my heart a live wire. Vivian strutted in, her emerald gown catching flashes, Roland at her side, smug. Tessa glowed in sapphire, her hand in mine, unaware of the bomb about to drop. Marcus worked the crowd, hyping the tribute. Lila manned the projection booth, her eyes sharp. Elise and Calvin sat near the front, Elise's gaze uneasy, like she sensed a plot twist. I took the stage, mic in hand, the theater hushing. "Tonight we celebrate Charleston's heart," I began, my voice steady. "And one woman who shapes it, Vivian Langley." Applause rippled, Vivian beaming. I paused, my smile tightening. But this isn't just her story. It's the truth behind the Low Country's shadows. The lights dimmed, the screen flickered, and the film began. The opening was flattering, Vivian's galas, her charity work. Then the tone shifted. Her friends revealed her manipulations, their words cutting. Clips showed her berating staff, her charm a mask. The crowd shifted, whispers growing. Then the first twist, a reenacted scene of the drink tampering, Vivian's voiceover admitting to discreet solutions. Gasps filled the theater. Vivian's face froze, Roland gripping her arm. The second twist hit, emails to Preston, plotting to sabotage my marriage, followed by Roland's tax-dodging records. The elite murmured, phones out, recording. "Desmond, stop this." Vivian shrieked, standing, but I held the mic. "You tried to poison me, Vivian. You wanted me gone. This is your legacy." The crowd was chaos, Tessa's eyes wide, Elise staring at her parents. I stepped off the stage, the film still playing, and walked out, Lila and Marcus behind me. Vivian's sobs echoed, Roland's shouts drowned by the elite's judgment. The gala was a social earthquake. Ex-posts exploded, calling Vivian Charleston's Black Widow. Her country club blackballed her, her friends ghosted. Roland faced IRS scrutiny, his deals crumbling. Low Country lens soared, my shadows clip going viral, landing me a Netflix pitch. But Tessa was shattered. "Why didn't you tell me, Des?" she asked, tears falling. I showed her the evidence, Zara's files, the audio. She believed me but needed space, staying with Elise for a week. I threw myself into work but guilt gnawed. Had I gone too far? Lila was blunt. "You slayed Des, but you hurt Tessa. Fix it." Marcus was pragmatic. "They deserved it. Keep rolling." I met Elise, who revealed Vivian had manipulated her too, pushing Calvin to control her. "You did what I couldn't," she said. Tessa returned, her voice soft. "I love you, Des, but I need time to grieve for my parents." We rebuilt, slowly, our love a steady focus. A year later, Vivian and Roland moved to Savannah, their empire dust. They sent Tessa letters claiming misunderstandings, but she set boundaries. I opened a new studio, my films thriving. One night, Tessa and I sat on our porch, Charleston's stars above. "They tried to break us," she said, her hand in mine. "But you showed them who you are." I nodded, my lens clear. I hadn't just won, I'd rewritten their story my way, with truth as my shutter. And that was revenge enough.